What up? It's early in the morning. As you can see, sun on my face. So obviously, I'm facing east. Now I'm facing west because it's behind me. But had an interesting, it is something that I downloaded and discovered a while ago, actually. But let me go ahead and get into it. Y'all see the title. So I'm just wanting to talk about how I figured out the Kabbalah, psychedelics, and shit, even media and entertainment, the Marvel universe especially, and how all of that shit is tying together. So when it comes to let's start at the Kabbalah. So I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the esoteric precursor to Judaism. It's got the little 10 little circles that you'll see that are different colors. They call that the tree of life. And most people think that itself is Kabbalah, but it's not. That's a Kabbalistic diagram. But the principles of the Kabbalah were something that existed before the diagram. That diagram probably was created during the French Renaissance, or around the time that the Jesuits were, up and active. Because that's when the name Jesus and the letter J was created. Jesus being very close to je suis, which is I am in French. So that's where I think it comes from. But, going a little off on it, but the Kabbalah is, those 10 diagrams. I mean, those 10 circles or whatever. And you can use the Kabbalah to meditate on the paths in between, or you can go to temples of those, what they call Sephira or Sephira. So the lowest Sephira which is considered Earth and the physical reality, is called Malkuth. So for example, you can meditate on Malkuth. And you can use its holy name, which is I believe it's Adonai Haaretz. It's been a while since I've really been on my Kabbalah shit, but I'm pretty sure it's Adonai Haaretz. So you would say, you could chant Adonai Haaretz, recite one of or think about one of the colors. Imagine yourself immersed in one of those colors, and if you do it long enough, you will find yourself in something called the tomb, or the the temple of Malkuth. So you can read about this, or you can go figure it out if you want to. And the temple of Malkuth has properties about it. It has an angel that comes and speaks to you. His name is Sandalphon, however you pronounce that. There's, I can't remember the figure that goes with it, but if I'm not mistaken, it's a young woman, beautiful crowned young woman or whatever. But, the Temple of Malkuth is actually what the Masonic Lodge is built after. So, and you have the Temple of Yesod, you have the Temple of Netzach, Kesed, all of them, all the way from Kether, Bina, Chakma, all the way down to Malkuth. If you don't know anything about that, Look it up if you want to, and I'm gonna tell you why I say it if you want to. Because anybody who has experience with psychedelics, you understand, especially if you've done it for years, and you understand the futility of going down these paths that never really have an end. So the Malkuth never, I mean, the Kabbalah never has an end. There's no uniform end to the Kabbalah. So a lot of people, you know, you go into the Kabbalah and, you know, you're trying to become a master at this shit. You're trying to achieve something. It's going to send you from temple to temple, or Sephira to Sephira, looking for answers that are never completely fulfilled and answered. And while you're at it, it's giving you everything you need to be in this world. So, you know, you can go and really deal with the Kabbalah and really fulfill all your worldly needs. Shit'll just start falling into place for you. That's just how it works. But spiritually, you almost feel like you're like you're starving. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're constantly getting to new heights, you're learning new things, it always feels like there's something that you're missing when you're fucking with the Kabbalah. And because of our minds, we think, you know, let me just go a little farther. Let me just keep going hard. There's people that's been doing this shit for their whole lives. So you think, damn, you know, let me just keep going a little farther. Well, one thing I learned, because I was a psychedelic taking nigga way before I was a Kabbalist. So one thing that I noticed, and anybody who knows what a bad trip is with psychedelics, basically a bad trip to me, and there's, you know, more than one example, but from what I noticed, a bad trip is when you're trying to find an end to something that doesn't end. Like, for example, one of my bad trips I had one time was I was trying to find, so you know, like where there's thread, there's holes in thread. And I was trying to make a blanket in my mind that had the thread so tight that there was no holes at all. And then I would zoom all the way in and find that there's still holes and add more thread. And I was running myself literally fucking cuckoo, you know what I'm saying, trying to find this pointless, never-ending end that has to where there's no holes in this blanket. You know what I'm saying? So that same concept can be carried over when you looking at the Kabbalah. There's never going to be end. There's always going to be some little holes that you can zoom in and feel. There's always going to be. Same if you're going from a microcosmic to a macrocosmic level. There's always going to be a bigger version that you can get there. So I was just saying all that to say, you know, for the people who are getting into the Kabbalah and learning and wondering, you know, what it's about, it's cool to do so. It's cool. But I will tell you this. That shit is no different. It's no different than a psychedelic trip. Now, you don't got the drugs, so you're not really feeling, you know, what you feel when you take mushrooms or you pop acid or ayahuasca or whatever. But you go through the same process. And just like every trip, you get to a point where you see how everything's connected. One time I did changa, which is smokable ayahuasca, and I saw how everything connected. And there's no real difference. There's no real difference in the psychedelic nature of all of this. And I just started to think, you know, the nature of mushrooms being that they don't even need the sun to grow. They're like the most electric organism out here. They don't even, you know what I'm saying? They're alkaline as hell. If the sun went black, mushrooms will still grow. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? The sun went black. We had no UV lights or nothing. Mushrooms will still grow. So it's clear that mushrooms are not from this earth. Because everything here needs the sun to power it. So mushrooms are a wider, and if you look at the psychedelics, they are the peak of this matrix. Because that's all the Kabbalah, psychedelics, hell, and even the Marvel universe, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, they're all very psychedelic. There's no difference in the trials that they run you through just for you to get to the end and be like, I mean, I guess that was cool, but shit, I need some more. So you start back. It's the same thing. So it's also the same thing with video games. It's also the same thing with porn. All of this shit, it starts you down a rabbit hole that you think that you just doing something. Like, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Tarot cards is Kabbalah. You don't get tarot cards without the Kabbalah. Tarot cards were made to complement the Kabbalah. So if you picked up tarot cards just on some new YouTube, new age shit, you gonna be running through that little trip in your head until you go and see what that Kabbalah is all about. You unknowingly jump down a rabbit hole just by picking up them damn tarot cards. I'm just keeping it a buck with you. So with the same thing with the tarot cards, with the fucking psychedelics, with all of that, we send ourselves down these paths to complete things subconsciously. But there is a time where you notice that like psychedelics and any other matrix, it all boils down to addiction. And I'm not talking about just drug addiction or anything else like that. I'm talking about addiction as in attachment. And I mentioned this in one of my recent videos. The addiction comes from the attachment to everything. Like, how many things in this world could you just go without? And I'm not saying go without and replace with another vice. How many, you know what I'm saying? Like, how many people can just sit and do nothing all day? If you know what I'm saying? How many people can just detach? How many people cannot eat? And I don't want to hear none of that, oh, well, you need food and blah, blah, because there are people who don't eat. They survive strictly off breath. That's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? So miss me with the fake scientific shit that there's already, science has already, or fuck science, experience has already proved that shit is not the end all be all, which makes it science. So science has proved it. So let me get back on track. So psychedelics, when you first take the psychedelics, that is you going to the very top of this matrix. You first pop them mushrooms, you see, but you still in the goddamn matrix. That's the point. You still in the matrix. So you taking the psychedelics and you lift it to a higher, more vibratory matrix, but it's still a goddamn matrix. It's still a matrix. So what happens when you come down from that shit? First of all, you like, nigga, I just seen goddamn what you thought was heaven. Freedom, the sweet by and by, but it's not. It's just the highest form, the highest vibration in this matrix. That's all you see. So what happens is you get, instead of being attached to all the other shit you was, now you attached to seeing this false heaven. Same with the psychedelic. I mean, same with the Kabbalah. The more times you go through the tree of life, the more intense it gets. The more visions you get. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, the tree of life was literally developed for that reason. It was developed to safely bring and slowly and bring niggas along the, hold on. Oh, yes sir. Bled me. But it was created to safely bring people along the route that the West Africans and all of them shit, because it was created in East Africa. So it was created as a more progressive and less, I guess, more safe way to bring people down this path, because it's all the same path. But me doing psychedelics and whatever, it allowed me to understand the nature of this shit. So there's a benefit. But if I don't know that that's the top of this damn matrix, and I keep thinking that, you settle for that. And that's what this matrix will do. And it'll keep expanding what this shit is, what the matrix is, just to try to please you. That's why you have to continually keep knocking down doors, because eventually it'll expand until it pops. But that's one thing that the matrix is known to do, is to give you and to please your ego and to give you everything that the egotistical you wants, so you no longer try to break through this shit. Tries to appease you. So, long story short, when you're going down the Kabbalistic path, when you're going down the psychedelic path, when you're doing all of this, understand that these are tools to lift you out of the hole that you in. But then there's another tool to use once you get out of that hole, and that's your own mind and your own self and shit. It might even be something else, but it's really your own mind. Once you get raised out of them holes using the psychedelics, using the Kabbalah, using any other system, you have to see that even those two are veils, and those two are matrices. So when you see a veil, you don't ignore it. You do need to go through that veil and understand what that veil is, but you don't need to live within that veil just because it's better than your last veil. Now you can if you want, you know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want to, but when you start feeling yourself restless and you want to break out, that's what's happening. So understand what you're getting yourself into when you go down the spiritual path. Nothing happens for no reason. There are no causes without effects. I'll tell you this right now. If you've ever picked up tarot cards and even looked at them and showed a real interest in them motherfuckers, it's in your best interest to at least go through the tree of life. Learn what it is. Go through it. Get to the point where you can recite all of the names and numbers and know what it is. And then go through that shit. Go through every fucking path working. That's what it's called. It's path working. And I'm not going to sit and explain that. Look that shit up. Go through that at least once, twice. I went through it, about 10, 15 times. Don't miss out on the DOF. If you're looking for a book, there's a great book on it called Path Working. I think he got 2 books. It's like Simplified Path Working and Advanced or More Advanced Path Working or whatever. It's by this dude named Ted Andrews. Phenomenal author. I haven't seen too many new age authors that really break down information and also give you exercises and things to do to actually grow your consciousness. Personal experiences and stories, and phenomenal author. The only authors that I can say that write content that's as useful and as practical would be the Gallery of Magic. And there's other people, but it's who I'm familiar with. The Gallery of Magic, they write great stuff, but they don't do as much educating, which in most people's opinion, and mine as well, is great, because instead of telling you about magic, they let you start experiencing it so you can really get your own answers for yourself. But us being intellectual beings, on this earth, the spiritual does, feed, and it is the foundation to our physical, but the physical is still where we live. So we still need to bring it to a intellectual, third dimensional, or not third dimensional, a physical understanding and a practical understanding. And sometimes you don't really get that with the Gallery of Magic. You just kind of just like reading it saying, oh, I hope this works. And don't get me wrong, the shit definitely does work. It works. You know what I'm saying? They have spells encoded into the way that they write. They use a lot of neuro-linguistic programming when they write to really drill in the fact that this magic works. And then you try it, and then it does work. But, you don't really know as much intellectually about it. And with the Kabbalah, that's the first thing you have to do, is to really understand it intellectually. Now, you could do it without, but most people don't have enough confidence in their mind without the intellect to do it. So, said all that to say, it's all one big ass motherfucking psychedelic trip, man. It's all one big ass psychedelic trip. And anybody who has psychedelics, and who's done psychedelics, this is, after a while, you start treating life like that. When you pop them mushrooms or whatever, you can't be on no bad vibes, because your body gonna tell you. Your body gonna tense up. Your head gonna start hurting. You know what I'm saying? You gonna start getting feeling a whole lot of stress and shit when you dealing with energies, lower energies. But here's the thing: the same thing happens when you sober. It's just not. The effect is not as high, so you can deal with that shit. And most people are used to just putting up with pain and uncomfortability. But when you're on psychedelics, you cannot do that, because the level of that pain is too much. Everything's multiplied. So you gotta, be on some good shit. So, because that's multiplied and that feels good as hell, which is the addictive part. But the key is to recognize this shit when you sober and start walking around as if your life is already psychedelic. And as soon as you do, you'll start noticing, now my back hurt. Sober, you might want to ignore that. But if you was on acid or on shrooms or ayahuasca, you would not ignore that. You would fix your posture. You would figure out what the fuck is going on with your energy. You would go outside, you get you some air, you put on some 528 hertz, 432 hertz, whatever the other fucking hertz they got. Turn them bitches on. Get right. You know what I'm saying? So, once we learn to do that without the drugs, which is, like I said, it's just another attachment. It's another motherfucking matrix that you still have to break through. And if that's your only tool is the motherfucking drugs, you're going to keep pulling yourself back into the hole just so you'll have another reason to take the drugs to pull you back out of that hole. So beware of yourself running through cycles subconsciously just because you like the cure. You like that end feeling. Beware of that shit. We do it in life all the time. That's why people go and put up with relationships that they're not happy in. Go and have babies with people that they know they shouldn't have babies with. It's because subconsciously they running themselves through a motherfucking psychedelic trip. Not because they want to, because they kind of almost programmed themselves in their mind that the only way that they can feel good is by feeling some bullshit first. And that's not true. You can feel good right now. Right now. But yeah, man, I'm gonna stop ranting and raving and shit. Y'all have a good day. Shit, I'll talk about the Marvel shit later. I got shit in my nose, my bad. But I'll talk about the Marvel shit later though. And maybe on another video, because them niggas is making that shit real. Them niggas, it was already real, but they're making it a physical reality. You know what I'm saying? So y'all stay tuned.